Hello, Leo. It's 2:29 a.m. Monday, August 3rd, 2020, and I was just circling around here, just thinking what I usually do, and then I had to stop. I don't think I have a video where I explain the meaning behind some of the paintings that I have, specific, like individually. So I wanted to explain, starting with these guys. This is a new batch of paintings that I received, or that I transported this week. So while it's fresh on my mind, I'll just go ahead and explain some of this stuff. So this I call the Wi-Fi Diptych. There maybe was another third piece that I was going to do to this, making it into like a 3-piece painting, but I just chose to go with 2 of them to make it just more of a contrast. All the paintings that I have there are inherent meanings behind them. It's not just something that I decided to do. I think it's like half of it is impulsive, so something that I think looks cool. With all the paintings that I do, I try to capture what modern life in America and not just America, but in the world is like today. So I'm making these paintings assuming they'll be seen 50, 100, 200 years later. And I think the best art shows its time. And that's why I think I really like pop art from the 60s and 50s a lot, because it's so 60s. Like it really was representative of America at the time. And I'm trying to do that. So I try to pick things that are going to be outdated pretty easily and will not age well, is what people say. But that's kind of the purpose of it. And the time delta, as time goes by, because that's something that we will never be able to quite stop, or at least with modern technology, we can't really do anything about this passing of time. So it's I'm using that almost as a medium of the longer the time passes, the more value that the painting kind of holds, because it's the difference between what's on the canvas that's permanently painted there and the real world that's always going by, and especially with technology, which is the subject of the things that I'm painting. So the bigger the discrepancy, I think the more valuable that becomes. So with this, there's 2 parts to it. Number 1 is just the internet speed itself. That's obviously something that's going to be very outdated. We're not going to be having 10 megabits a second internet at any time, or hopefully in the next 5 years or so. I hope that's gone. It's kind of like dial-up internet. I don't think we even measured it on megabits a second. It probably was like bytes per second or something. And in the future, it's probably going to be, in the very least, gigabits a second. We still have gigabit internet, but it's very inaccessible to most people. I wanted this to be a lot higher. So my internet speed at my home right now, I think it's like 200 megabits download, and upload is like 10, which is really low. But I just wanted to show the big difference here, and the colors kind of go with it. It's like, bad, good. And I just want it to be kind of like binary like that. And ideally I would have had a 3rd digit to this. I just didn't want to. I thought that there was some sort of balance to the paintings also visually. That's why I didn't include the 3rd digit here. But it's kind of that's what it is now. So it would look very aged in just a few years with the speed. And as you notice, the little test again button here. On all the paintings that I do, I try to have some sort of call to action. I think that's just the designer in me. Whenever you're designing something, there needs to be a purpose to what's being designed. And the colors and the size of the buttons and stuff like that all matter. But in this case, I try to just go along with the theme of all the paintings where there needs to be some sort of actionable item. And I think that's also translates to a painting itself, where if you're just looking at this at a gallery or a museum, like I want people to almost go out and want to touch it. It needs to be kind of interactive, and that's why all the paintings, sometimes they ask a question, like these pieces over here. They ask, choose all that apply, which services are you interested in, and these are things that you could touch. Over here we have an add to cart button. Over there with the eBay piece, there's like a buy now or add to cart. I think in this one it says like place bid, a watch item. In this case, it's holding up the phone. In this case, it's also a question form, so you get to choose. So it's really, I want to ask these things to the viewer and give them some sort of a option to do something. And these pieces have been painted that way. And also, oftentimes the ideas that I come up with, these interfaces, are based off of real interfaces that I see. So similar to, Liechtenstein got a lot of inspiration from comic books, right? Real comic books that he saw. And for me, I think inspiration is out there everywhere, and as an interface designer that's been doing it for so long, When I see something and it looks cool, it just kind of sticks out to me, and I just save it into my big collection. And I have a huge list on my phone of pieces and paintings that I have, or the ideas that I have, and a big queue of items that I want to design. But with that said, I never ever just completely copy something. I think in the earlier days I did. Nowadays I take inspiration from it and then design it from scratch. So in this case, I think it was some sort of internet website, like a website that checks your internet speed. It definitely does not look or is not colored like this. And then I always change the colors to make it more pop. And then I also adjust a lot of things that are from the original source. So in this case, I think I got rid of a lot of things that were there that were not really necessary, and I enlarged everything. So that's that. Over here we have the single piece. This is inspired by Facebook. So this is a diptych. I just didn't have room to have two of them. So it's these two pieces right here. Also, similar thing, right? The color contrast here evokes certain emotions. Like, hey, this kind of color is love, and I intentionally chose this sort of deeper red instead of this brighter red to show the whole like kind of emotional, the love thing. And it's ironic because this is like sad and this is happy, but it kind of is flipped. I just noticed that this though is it's quite sad, but I like this painting. I personally, I placed it here unintentionally, but then whenever I'm working over there, I look at it a lot of times every day while I work. And yeah, I mean, I guess it's just a reminder to myself how single I am right now, but I don't know, I like it. I guess I relate to it a lot because I feel lonely a lot. And that's something that I've always felt, loneliness, especially nowadays. And, at least I know Brad's not, I have a comrade, another single person that I can relate to. And this one as well, you'll see, it's not as apparent, but there are actionable items that the viewer can look at, like comment, and share. Is it recording still? Okay. Sometimes it doesn't. These pieces right here, I'll explain them later. They're sort of the older ones that I did. Let's see, I guess you can't even see it. I'll do it later. So these ones, the plastic surgery pieces. This is also a diptych. There's two pieces in here. This is more of a social commentary that I have. I don't know when you're watching this how common plastic surgery would be. It's pretty common, I guess, right now. I'm not like for or against it. I think it's just like, I think it's fine. I think it's if it empowers you, and if it helps you optimize yourself and look better and you feel better about yourself, then I think I'm all for it. So it's not anything against plastic surgery or anything like that. It's just again trying to reflect the society and the culture that I live in, and this is something that exists. So one side would have English and Korean. And this is intentional, the fact that the Korean one is a little bit more facial focused and this is more body focused. That's just the impression that I've gotten living in both parts of the world. And I think that's also reflected in quite a lot of the pieces that I have. Just being Korean and growing up and being educated in the US, I got to see, and I still get to see the both sides of the story. And yeah. Besides Korean also, but I try to do a lot of paintings in other languages that I don't even speak in. And that's like a whole other explanation that I think technology is sort of this universal bond. It's like a universal language where you don't even need to speak the language and you generally can understand what it means or what it says. So anyway, these pieces, this is also multiple choice, right? I was thinking about maybe not having these selected states in the UI and having them just be blank states so the user can pick, but I decided to do this to let the user know that that is what like a selected state means. And when I say user, I mean the viewer. And it's like a little bit more obvious that you could select things. These icons I got off of some website, I need to attribute them. It's actually on the back of these paintings. I think I signed them somewhere. Yeah. I signed them a little bit here. You see that? I was going to attribute each of the icons because they're free vector files, but they need attribution unless I buy them. So I was just going to write the names of the people that designed the icons. This Amazon piece is one of the bigger ones that I have. I don't think I've done anything bigger than this size, 8x6. There's a solid backing on them. Part of me wishes that I kept doing more of these bigger ones, but it just became impractical at a certain point. They're just super hard to transport. These things are really heavy, and like printing out the mask and everything to get onto these, this is kind of a nightmare. But they do come out really nice. So initially, the idea was I wanted to do all my paintings this big, and I was mostly inspired by, like Pollock paintings and Mark Rothko, and they did these huge, gigantic pieces. And it's just immersive. Like I wanted these things, you like look at it and you're just sucked into this world. And it's just so inordinary because it's something that you're so used to having in such a small part. Such a small interface that's blown up so big that it just kind of looks different. And it's like something that's so small, but it's such a big part of your life. Like I can't imagine my life without this thing. And later on it's going to change, we're going to have AR and everything like that, but still, they're pretty small form factors that encompass so much of our lives and dictate so much of our lives. And we can find love on here, we can find jobs on here, we can find food on here, like whatever that we need as humans. We've somehow found a way to satisfy every single need with this, which is such a small screen. And it's that sort of irony between something so small that's so big. So that's what we have here. This piece over here is the eBay piece. I think this was completed sometime last year or maybe earlier this year. Funny enough, I recently did an eBay auction for one of my paintings. It was this one, Instagram, Black Lives Matter. I auctioned this guy off on eBay, and it sold for about $1,000. I was quite proud of that. I still have not sold any of the pieces I've never sold any of the pieces that I have. That's not my main intent in doing artwork. It's just, honestly, I'd love to keep all of them myself, and I don't really have intentions of selling them, besides if it helps me get in front of more people. I think I would much rather have people look at it than buy it, but anyway. When I did this, I auctioned it off for charity, so I'm donating $1,000 or so to a couple nonprofit organizations. But this is before that, and then I've always thought about. I just thought it was kind of ironic if I made this painting sort of come true in life, and it happened. Not as much as this much, but. I was thinking about what to price this at, because again, I've never sold anything, so I didn't really know what the fair market value would be. I wanted it to be not like too low though, because I think I do value the paintings. Like, part of me wanted to make it like super expensive, like $50,000, but that just kind of seemed a little bit, I thought that could come off as like a little bit too grandiose, too much confidence in myself. But I do believe internally that these paintings could be valuable, or would be valuable, or are valuable. In fact, the painting that's underneath this guy over here, it's an unfinished painting, but there's actually a couple layers underneath this. There's 2 layers underneath this. I keep layering things on top of existing paintings because the tighter they get, the easier it is to paint on them, especially when I'm doing masks. But two layers underneath this is the original. That's actually the very first painting that I ever did in this format, or in this sort of like size. And I commissioned that to a sign painter, and it said, the value of this painting shall not exceed $50 million or something like that. Or it said, the value of this painting shall be capped at $50 million. So clearly, I guess, from when I did those, I thought that the paintings would be valuable. If I do begin to sell these paintings, or even if I don't, I think every painting that I have, that I make, assuming this is when I have a little bit more resources, like a bit more money and a couple more like assistants to help me with the painting, I think I'm gonna make like 2 versions of every single painting that I create, or maybe even 3, just almost as backup. It does take more time and resources to do it, but I'm just kind of afraid that what if something gets destroyed? What if this collection what if what if, God forbid, there's a fire or something like that, or an earthquake, or a nuclear disaster, whatever it is. I want to protect against that. And unlike digital data, with my database and everything that I have, that's already being backed up in multiple places. These are so vulnerable, like they're physical, and they could deteriorate, they could do whatever. So right now, I'm like trying to make as much money as possible right now to be able to make more paintings and more so increase the quality of the paintings and preserve them better. Because it'd be so sad if all these paintings somehow because I used low quality paint, they end up fading away or chipping away after a few years, and it would just be really sad because these are like my babies. So first solution, just use higher quality paint. And this is assuming I have a little bit more money to be able to use. Higher quality paints, I'm gonna varnish everything in like multiple layers. So even if these do peel, there's still a layer that's kind of like preserving it. That should help with UV protection and everything like that, so the colors don't fade away. And the multiple copies I'm going to house in different locations, because again, most of this is just going to be in my collection. And say I have 2 copies of each. One's going to be in my personal residence, like gallery space, and then another one's going to be some sort of in a vault that I'm thinking, maybe like a nuclear vault in the middle of Iceland or something, and it's just untouchable. I just want these things to last. Like I wouldn't be doing these if I wasn't have them be lasting. Again, the whole point of these things, the creations that I have, is like I want things that could outlast myself, and that's why I care so much about like where these are stored and what conditions they're stored in and everything like that. Underneath these Uber pieces, we have the battery triptych. This is also a 2-piece thing, by the way. There's a green one that says like hold up your phone, and it's like a different person. This is inspired directly by Uber. I don't know if they still have that feature yet, but it was sort of experimental. And as soon as I saw that, I found out about it because it was so colorful. I was like, oh, I need to paint this, and I did. This one's a 3-part parts. There's English. I don't know what language is. I think it's like shit. I forget what language is. Oh, German, I think, and Korean. So this series, as you can see, oh, it matches my shirt. This series is super colorful. It's one of the very first pieces that I did, I think, in this sort of color. And these triptych pieces, because there's like 3 of them, they get quite big. Because I don't ever want to sell them. So if I do sell them, I don't ever want to sell them just one piece at a time. Like they have to be together. Like I would refuse to let them go individually, because these are 2 pieces in itself. It's like if you were to take a Pollock painting and you literally slice it in half and sold one piece. It just doesn't really work that way. And these are meant to just be together. So even these ones, they're meant to be together. So in a sense, the size of it, they're like 5x5s, but I can almost, it should be actually on the label, it should be labeled as like 15x5, or at least like 20 feet by 5 feet, because they're meant to be placed next to each other. Yeah, I did talk a lot. I mean, the last thing I'll explain is this guy. So this right here, oh shit. This right here is an Amazon sculpture box. I got my assistant Gavin to help me with this because he's like a furniture maker. This is like a prototype one, so the main production ones are going to be a lot bigger than this. They are Amazon boxes, so directly inspired by Warhol's Brillo boxes, and I thought it was sort of a funny thing as an ode to his ideas. Because I think the reason he painted them, he said that Brillo boxes just happen to be really universal. They just are everywhere. These like cardboard boxes, they use them to store tools. Like people use them in garages to just have things. And I feel like the modern equivalent of that is Amazon boxes. They're so common. I bet I have like a few of them in my house already. It's just instantly recognizable. But I am changing the colors of them to be more popping. And usually they're cardboard, but that's kind of that'd look quite ugly if they're just cardboard. So painting to be this Amazon orange. So the process of it is there's like 6 sides to this, and sand everything down to make them almost like perfect cubes, and I paint them, or I have some sort of, I think I use kills to prime it. I have a video of me doing all that, and then I covered it in this paint, which is really bad quality paint, so it's peeling. And then I have a series of masks to do this, and there's like a strip of Amazon paint or tape, and I'm planning on making like a bunch of these. And I think it's going to be a recurring series throughout my life. So it's not just something that I'll create once. I think I'll continue to create them. And I think Amazon's going to be around forever, and at one point maybe even be broken up due to antitrust laws. There's only 2 of them right now, but the plan is the first production batch I want at least 12 to 15. They're meant to be stacked, sort of like the Brillo pad boxes. They're meant to be like taking up this whole corner. And I was thinking of maybe making some of them a different color. I think I would, but for the most part, the majority of them will be this color. And also they're going to be in different shapes and sizes. So I guess that's the one big difference between the Brillo boxes and my Amazon boxes. I think I want to portray how different size they are. The Brillo ones, I guess that also is sort of interesting how the Brillo ones are mass manufactured, and it's like something that's like there's only one product of that. And they make them into millions, and all the boxes look the exact same. But with Amazon, you can order a million different things from Amazon. They'll ship to you in a million different size boxes. So you never know what you're going to get, and you can only guess what's inside based on what it looks like and how heavy it is. These are actually quite hefty. It's made out of wood. It's hollow on the inside, so that's why I was able to sit on this guy. I'm pretty sure I could even stand on it, although I don't think I'll attempt to. Should I? Okay, yeah. They're sturdy. This was meant to be completed like months ago in April. I never really got there. Again, man, Leo, money is the issue here. I don't have enough money to make all these things a reality. And time, but mostly money. So I'm gonna go out and try to make as much money as possible to fund all this stuff. That's really the wish. If I made like $1 million a year, if I made like, and then whatever's left, I can just donate it all. Or like somehow put it in some sort of trust where it allows more people to make more things out of it. But definitely, start with what I have. First step is to preserve these paintings and upgrade the quality. So I'm going to I'm going to go back at all the paintings that are older that I have. Like this is the new generation of paintings, but these are the first generation. I'm going to somehow have to clean them and then apply varnish on all of them to protect it. I might need to consult with like an art conservator or something to see what the best way to conserve this is, especially because again, these are not good quality paint. Like seriously, half of these things are made with like house paint that's not meant to be even painted on the houses. They're samples like these things. Or like these things. Like this is such low quality paint. This tube is probably like $3. This thing, I don't even know. This is what I painted that Amazon thing with, and you saw it just peels off really easily. It's some sort of latex acrylic, and it's sample quartz, so they're not even the production ones. They mix a lot of things into it, like filler. So the pigment concentration is super low, and it's like super latexy, like really rubbery. So like that thing, if you touch it, I think this is a little bit better quality paint, but those things are like sticky and peeling. Anyway. That's just my life, trying to build Rolls Royces out of Honda Civic parts. Not that I have anything against Civic. It's just one of these days, pretty soon hopefully, I won't have to have that issue. I'll have legitimate Rolls Royce parts to build full Rolls Royce cars. But until then, I'll make do with what I have. I can make it work. And I want to start making a lot more of these paintings. every week I want like at least 3 paintings made, and then I want to start my SEMO project, the thing underneath this thing. I have a lot more ideas for that as well. I'll have to experiment with different painting techniques. As of now, I'm just thinking of tracing, but I think I can come up with a better technique to make them cleaner. Maybe some sort of computer or machine-aided method. And even these interface paintings, I think there's a more efficient way to do them than what I'm doing right now. But all this comes from experimentation. So until then, I'll see you later, Leo. Oh, you know what would be cool is when I have all that, I'll record another video of me sort of walking through my studio and showing off the new generation of painting with all the varnish and stuff, and just how different they are. One thing is I want the paintings to be more glossy. With better quality paint, they will end up being less flat like this and more popping. And the varnish should also add some sort of gloss to them. Right?